Hello, welcome to a special interview with mayoral candidate, I think now we may say it, Gil Penalosa. But first of all, last time we talked, you said you were never going to run for mayor again. I know you like to run every day, but why did you decide to run again? Has it something to do with John Tory or?
No, it has to do with John Tory in the sense that we have an election less than 100 days since he became mayor.
Yeah.
So when I was thinking that the next election was going to be 4 years from now, then I thought that there would be a lot of other people that would be running. But now I think that everything that I was saying, everything that I was thinking, every policy that I suggested for the election of October 24th, still valid. If anything, it's even more urgency now. I mean, we saw last week how the city council voted against warming centers 24/7 for the people that are literally freezing on the streets. That's totally inconceivable that they say, Tory and his friends said that there is no budget. The budget that he's presenting is over $16 billion. That's more than the budget of most of the provinces in Canada. How is it that we don't have money to have warming centers 24/7, and then we're sending these people either to sleep on the streets or to hang out on the buses, on the trains, on the Tim Hortons, in the libraries? It's totally inhumane.
And so last time you're running against an incumbent mayor who has been there for many years. This time, no incumbent, by-election. How is this race going to be different for you than last time?
Well, one is that I'm going to be running against professional politicians that like political games. Why didn't they run last year? I spoke with most of them. They said, oh, because Tory has too much money, Tory has too much power, so I'm not running, I'm waiting 4 years. Elections is not only about that. Elections is a time to bring up ideas, is to solutions, proposals. So I think it was really very negative for the city that they abstained. And now Tory is not around, so now all of them say, oh, maybe I can win. So now they are running. So in that sense, it's going to be different, that there is not going to be one professional politician, but there might be 5, 6, 7 more. So it's in that sense, it's going to be different. On the positive side, I think there's going to be a lot of debates. People say, why is it that few people voted last time? Well, because the Tory won with the strategy of keeping everything quiet. He had over 50 invitations for public debates. He didn't accept any until the advance voting began. And then he only accepted 2 with lots of conditions. Now, I think that everyone running is going to be interested in having many debates. Debates on mobility, debates on housing, debates on parks, debates on everything. And I think that it's going to be good for the citizens to raise the awareness on these issues and also to realize that this matters. Whoever is the mayor has a lot to do with their daily quality of life, whether the streets are clean or not, and the park, where they have fun and they have culture and they have programs. Also housing, whether we move forward and solve the housing issues.
Yeah. So in municipal politics, unlike provincial or federal, candidates are not running under the banner of any one specific party. There's not supposed to be that in municipal politics. But we know that the reality is very different. We know that the parties have their favorite candidates. The Ontario Progressive Conservatives have said that they're looking for who they're going to back as their main candidate. I want to ask if you've heard any similar support coming from the Ontario NDP, or what your thoughts are on the role of these big parties on municipal politics.
Well, I think that no one has as negative image as City Hall. City Hall has failed the city. A lot of the solutions that I proposed are not costly, are not technical, are not financial, are political, and they have failed. Issues such as housing. I mean, the city could have done so many things in the last 20 years. So City Hall. Next to City Hall is the political parties. the political parties. And I think that they are not supposed to get involved in municipal issues, but in the last election when I ran, they were clearly involved. And now that people are talking about each other, it's very clear that the conservatives, the liberals, the NDPs, I haven't heard of the Greens, but at least the three major parties, all of them are moving around, and I think that is very negative. I think that we need to take advantage of the benefit that citywide at the municipal, there are no political parties. So then I hope that I will get the support from people from the NDP, conservatives, liberals, but mostly I want to get the support of people that do not belong to any party. In the last campaign, I walked and visited every single neighborhood of the city. That's why I went from the day that I registered till the election day, 100 days, and I got almost 100,000 votes. And what I heard from people is that many had not voted. I think City Hall has failed the suburbs tremendously. The New Canadians, terribly. And that has nothing to do with either political party. I think that we should come to an agreement on the what. So we do need more housing. We need to end the exclusionary zoning. Here we're in a park. We need to have better parks and clean. There should be an agreement on the what. Maybe there is different approaches to the how. So if it's a conservative, they might want to outsource it to a private company. If it's the NDP, they might want to have a unionized workers cleaning the park. But there should be an agreement on the what, that we need to have parks, quality parks, within walking distance of every citizen in Toronto.
Running for mayor is not cheap. You've been running every ward, but you need funding, and you've been one of the first candidates to say, yes, I'm running. How's been the process? Have you had to ask for support during the weekend? Have you any funding secured? Is your wife now afraid that you're going to lose your home?
Well, that's one thing she said. She said, we don't have any money. Like, our only property is a condo, and it's not ours. Half of it is ours, the other half is the bank's. We don't even have a car. So, but I think that more important than the money are the citizens. It's talking with them. In the last campaign, I'm so grateful to so many people that gave us money, but of course John Tory had 10 times more money. So we need to be creative on how to communicate, how to say things, how to bring up the message. In the last campaign, very few people knew me. In this campaign, I said Saturday that I was going to run for mayor, and over the weekend I was in every single news. So I have that name recognition that I didn't have. But I will not be a mayor, or I will not be a candidate of any financial group, any political group. I don't think. I think we need to have a mayor that has everybody. I'm not against business. We need to have business, developing enterprises, creating jobs, and so on. But we also need to have the small businesses. I'm very concerned how post-COVID so many small businesses have gone broke. You go on the main streets of the city, they have to be our priority, the main streets, because they are the heart and soul of our community. The heart and soul are not the big chain stores. So we cannot end up in the main streets having only Dollaramas and Shoppers Drug Marts and banks and all the locals going broke. So I do think that we need business. So I'm not looking for any specific backing of anyone. I don't think it's needed. But of course, I know that probably the conservatives will have the backing of the big business, and the NDPs will have the backing of the unions, and that's fine. I hope that also some businesses will support me, and I hope some unions will support me, but I will not be the candidate of any specific group at all.
That's great, but right now, you don't have secured more budget than in your previous company?
No, we are not allowed to formally start the campaign, so that's why I'm saying I'm not a candidate yet, but as soon as they open the registration, I'm going to register. Once they open the registration, then you can start doing the fundraising. So at this moment, no one is supposed to be doing fundraising.
How is the registration progress? Because I think you should need some support, some people signing for you. You know the process because you've done it recently?
Actually, it's very simple and very easy. You need to have 25 people endorsing your registration, and you pay $250. I think it should be a little bit more difficult because then there were like 31 candidates. I think they should ask you for maybe 5,000 signatures or something, but that's not how it is. So basically, John Tory on Friday night, he said he was going to resign. He has to write a letter to formally resign because he has not resigned yet until he presents the letter. The letter goes to the clerk at City Hall. Then the clerk goes to the next council meeting that probably is this Wednesday if he presents the letter before Wednesday. He might decide not to because Wednesday they're going to talk about budget. I think it would be terrible if he doesn't send the letter because I think even for his budget, I think the deputy mayor would be better than him promoting the budget than him. But anyway, let's assume he sends the letter and the clerk gets it. So on Wednesday, the clerk accepts the resignation and the council appoints the deputy mayor as interim mayor. And then they have, the clerk can decide on that day, city council can decide when are there going to be the next elections, which basically has two dates. One date is when people can start to register, and another date is when the elections are going to take place. So there can be, I think, 45 days to decide when it's going to open, and then the elections. So most likely, elections are going to take place in May or June.
Santiago?
So what we've heard recently when it comes to the TTC budget, there's going to be cuts, there's going to be longer expected wait times. We're representing Humber News, which is a commuter school. Most people are taking transit or car every day, and those transit times are of a serious concern to them. What are you going to be doing with the TTC? Are we still going to be expecting those same cuts, or?
Well, you know, it would be nice if for a change we had a mayor that actually walks and rides bicycles and uses public transit. I'm not against car. When I need a car, I go to car share and I get one for 2 hours, for 5 hours, and that uses public parks. We have not had that in Toronto. Public transit has not been a priority. And that's why we don't have good public transit. We need to make public transit absolute priority. The buses, the streetcars. Yesterday, I was on Spadina on the streetcar. As the streetcar approaches a traffic light, it's in red. And the streetcar with 80, 90, 100 people there has the same rights as one car with one person. Our Constitution says that all people are equal. If all people are equal, those 80 people on the streetcar should have the right of space of 80 cars with one person. This is not about the money. You put a chip that is $50, and then as soon as the streetcar is approaching a traffic light, if it's in red, it automatically switches to green. So that way, the streetcars, the buses, are going to go a lot faster. That we can do. Also, we can, in the first 100 days, we can do some tests, for example, in the regular streetcars like on Dundas, on Queen. As soon as the streetcar, the traffic jams for the streetcar is near the intersections, near the traffic lights. Okay, so in the peak hours in the morning and peak hours in the afternoon, near the intersections, we are going to paint that green. Only the streetcar can be there. The cars are going to have the right lane, but in the center lane where they are the rails of the streetcar, it's only for the streetcar in the 50 meters before the traffic lights. Let's be creative. We need to give a streetcar the priority. We need to have, I'm going to invite all the councilors and the top staff of the city, as well as senior staff of private sector, let's do 1 week without private cars. 1 week. Not 1 day, because if it's 1 day, people arrange meetings and things about not having a car. No, let's do 1 week. And let's do that every year. 1 week without cars. So people will realize how good or bad it is to walk or to ride bicycles or use public transit or use taxis or use Uber or other modes. So we need to get the decision makers using the public transit so they will know how good or bad. I was in Regent Park on last Thursday night at an event, and then I came out and it was pretty cold. and it took over 20 minutes to get a streetcar. And then we were getting more and more and more people, and the streetcars going in the other direction. We saw 4 going by, and there was no one coming on King Street. So I do think that we need to improve. Also, we need to have the best people managing our city. Those are our resources. For example, it's very clear that the top management of the city has failed in the last 8 years, and more than the last 12 or more. How is it that Tory comes as a new mayor and he wants to change with exactly the same people? Exactly the same people. No, it's very clear that some people have failed. So we need to, we must have the best doers. I mean, this Toronto is bigger than almost any corporation in Canada. So we should have the best people. When we evaluate the city manager, we should say, would I put this person to run Air Canada, or we put this person to run whatever business? Those are the kind of things. So if the TTC is not meeting, something is happening. I mean, when the mayor last year went to a park and they said, oh, mayor, the water fountains are not working. And this was in June. And he said, oh, no worry, half are working, the other half will start working in July. What? And then when people complain, then he said, oh, no, next year I'm going to ask parks to open them sooner. What? Didn't he know after 8 years that they were opening half of the water fountains in July? So who's at fault? Either they didn't have budget, and then it might be him or the people. But he said they gotta do it without any more people or any more budget, so maybe someone didn't do the job right. Did anybody leave Parks and Recreation because of no one? No one is responsible. No one. So in some ways, that's why I also think that some of the mayoral powers is good, so that he could appoint or not people.
You were, well, your brother has been mayor in Bogota for a lot of years, and you were helping him in the beginning, isn't it?
Yes. Well, I was commissioner before he was mayor. And I led the construction. I led the construction over 200 parks. I created a program that I want to do in Toronto that is called Open Streets, that on Sundays for 7-8 hours, we have some of the streets without cars. In Toronto, I would love to do blur.
We have that in Madrid.
Exactly, Madrid copied from mine in Bogota. In Bogota was the first one. When I became commissioner, it was only a few kilometers, and I increased it to 121, where we get more than 1 million people every Sunday of the year. Imagine Toronto from May to September, from Victoria Day to Labor Day, if blur from the Humber River to the Don Valley, and Young from the 401 to Lake Ontario, along, and Lakeshore also, the city completely interconnected, along with the trails on the Humber and the Don Valley. It would be amazing for people to walk, ride bicycles, run, more than anything to chat, to socialize, to enjoy the presence of each other. People keep saying that we are the city of neighborhoods, but people don't know each other. It would be magnificent if people would wake up and say, oh, what am I going to do next Sunday? Oh, I'm going to have a brunch in Little Italy, or I'm going to go to Hyde Park, or I'm going to go to the beaches. And it would be amazing. People of all ages and abilities doing it safely. One of the problems is that when we have mayors and sometimes councilors, that their summers are spent in private cottages, they don't realize that the majority of the people do not have those cottages, and the majority of the people are in the city and that are not having a possibility to have a fun and healthy and happy summer. So that's why we need to change. I think that you mentioned Madrid. I think that one of the things that I love about many cities in Spain, whether it's Madrid or Barcelona or small ones like Vitoria, Gasteiz, is that there are magnificent opportunities to be happy, to enjoy for free. And I think that should be almost that should be almost like one of the indicators of evaluating cities. How many things can you do that doesn't have any cost? But then we have one of the best library systems in the world. But then the mayor closes them on Sundays. 90% are closed on Sundays. Why? There's many people. The other day,
open, it's only 3 or 4 hours.
The other day I saw, when I was in campaign, a woman came to me and said, "Oh, Gil, thank you." And I said, "Why?" "Oh, because you are going to open the libraries on Sunday." And I said, "Why is it so important to you?" She said, because my husband used to beat me up, and we are divorcing, and I have a 9-year-old. She was with it. She said, and winter is coming. And now I go to the parks, but before, in winter, the only safe place for me, I don't have money to go to a restaurant and spend 3 hours with my son. We used to go to the libraries and read to each other and play games and what. Now the libraries are closed on Sundays. By the way, the library, we are going to open 100%. We have some police that are on horses. That is cute, but it's very expensive, very, very expensive. If we eliminate just the mounted police, that is mostly for shows, we could fund opening libraries 100% on the Sundays and in the evenings, and also the warming centers. So for the city, I think we need to have a strong police. I'm not talking about, no, we need to have, but also we need to have a police that is accountable. We need to, it's not that the police, they can do whatever, and we say, oh no, it's the police. No, there is a board, and the mayor has to be there, and the mayor needs to demand results. But in the case of the mounted police, if we eliminate the mounted police, with that small budget, we could open all of the libraries of the city on Sundays. And also we could open the warming centers throughout the winter. What would the citizens want? Do they want these cute horses around? By the way, it's also cruel for the horse, because these horses are mostly to be used whenever there is an issue of safety or whatever. So it's also not that nice. Those horses could have better life, and we could have the warming centers, and we could have the libraries. And it's an issue of priorities. It's an issue of priorities. And I think we have a good city. I mean, I love Toronto. I'm passionate. With the kind of work that I do in Toronto, I could live in any city. I live in Toronto because I love it. And I think it has so much potential to be more equitable and more sustainable.
Going back to Bogota, before you ran the last time, journalists from Colombia uploaded an article about maybe 2001, there was a trial in Bogota, and they summoned you, and they had to celebrate the trial without you being there because you were in Canada.
No.
What?
No,
Can you clarify it? Because
it's from 25 years ago. You know, when you do over 200 parks, then some people don't like.
1998.
Yeah, so some people don't like it. 1995, 96, 97.
When you were commissioner.
When I was commissioner. And then I built over 200 parks. Then some people, NIMBYs and so on, some people might complain. And then some people so the people that are in charge, the attorney generals and whatever, they open investigations and they close investigations. Okay. Afterwards, the national government sent me to Canada as a diplomat to be trade commissioner. And I was here, everybody in Colombia knew. Okay, but one of the entities that was doing one investigation, nothing more. They sent a letter to where the Parks Commission was. That had been torn down and they had moved to a different building. So the letter didn't arrive anywhere. Then they sent a second letter. Then on the third letter, they can say, okay, bring me this guy to answer. Then they said, when they said that, they said, hey guy, everybody knows that he lives in Toronto. The way you do when someone is out of the country, you send the questionnaire to the embassy or the consulate. So they sent the questionnaire here. In 3 days I answered, and 3 months later that was closed. Absolutely nothing. I have never in my life, not in that case, on everything, I have never been fined 1 cent for anything. I have never been found guilty of anything in my whole life, not only as commissioner, but in the private sector, in the public sector, never. So it was very unfortunate that one columnist that hates my brother, just to bring up things, then he wrote something. It didn't have any impact in Colombia. No one even republished that in Colombia. But he wrote, but some people here, you know, some people say that in Colombia, they say that more people die of envy than of heart attacks. Maybe someone envious then went to Google and got a Google translation and sent it around. And you know what hurts is that some of the people that did it mostly were Hispanics. And I said, man, you know, the people from India help each other, and they elect the mayor of Edmonton and Calgary. The people from China, the Hispanics, sometimes we don't help each other. Why is it that they didn't pick up the telephone and say, hey, Gil, what is this? And I would have explained. There was absolutely nothing. The consulate got the questions. In 3 days I answered. 3 months later it was gone.
I must say, I read the article in Spanish. For me as an editor, it needs some editing to clarify some things. And at the end of the article, he recognizes the case is closed. Anyway.
Yeah, but it was closed 25 years ago. Yeah. So imagine, after that, I worked for the city of Mississauga. Yeah. After that, I created 880 Cities, a very successful nonprofit. After that, I have worked in over 350 cities around the world. And all they can find about me is that I did not reply some questions because they were sent to the wrong place. And when they were sent here, I mean, it's been over 28 years since that happened. So it's very unfortunate, but I'm happy to answer about anything, anywhere throughout my life. So that is perfectly reasonable.
Sure.
And so I heard, I was watching the videos you've been putting out over the weekend. You were talking about ABCs of politics, and I wanted to ask about the affordability. Housing right now is a concern for so many, but so is food in Toronto. What are your plans to make living in Toronto more affordable for everyone?
Well, when I said that we need to make everything that is free, good quality, that is very, very important. That is part of affordability. If I don't have a lot of money, but I can go to the parks and there are lots of activities for free, for children, for youth, for older adults. We do almost nothing for older adults and it's 1/3 of our life. If I go to the libraries and they are open 7 days a week and it's free, all of that is about affordability. So that is really, really, really important. From the point of view of housing, we have failed. We have failed since we amalgamated in the last 23 years. Everything that I'm proposing for housing, the city hall can make it. It has nothing to do with the province or the federals. Of course, if they help us, much better. But we are in a huge housing crisis because, for example, 80% of the area of Toronto is zoned for single-family housing. All of these houses are only single-family housing. Why is it that first that is exclusionary? Why are the NIMBYs don't want to eliminate exclusionary zoning? Because they don't want to have black people or brown people or Hispanic people or whatever. They just want to be within themselves. No, I'm proposing we should end exclusionary zoning, and also as of right, anybody should be able to subdivide their homes. So let's allow people to subdivide. Look, if only 10% of the people do it, only 10%, we're going to have over 120,000 units. So who's going to win? Everybody. The owner is going to say, many people are now empty nesters that they want to age in place, but the house is too big and too expensive. Well, now they can rent one, maybe in $1,200, another in $1,200. And if they got money from the public sector, it will have to be half, so only $600. Well, that's over $30,000 a year, this year and next and next and next. So it's going to be great for the owner. Who's going to be doing the renovations? Small and medium-sized contractors. This is not the big developer doing the renovation. So we're going to have thousands and thousands of small and medium-sized contractors doing it. And who's going to benefit the most? The renters. Because now the renters are going to be able to find everywhere. Like one house here in this neighborhood, for example, it might rent for $3,000. Well, very few people have money to pay $3,000. But if that house is split in 4, then it's going to be only maybe $800 or $900. So many people can afford $900 that cannot afford $3,500. So we need to do that. Also, along the arterials, all of the corridors. I was talking before about the main streets. The only way for the main street to survive, the small local business, is if we give them more and more and more customers. When there is only 2-story floors, so only 2 stories, is on the first floor of the street is the restaurant, is the small partying or whatever. And only one family on top is very few people. If we allow 6 or 7 or 8 people on top of it, then we're going to create the density so that all of these local stores are going to do well. So my proposal is that along all of the transportation corridors, we allow as of right to densify by the width of the road. So for example, if you are in a small road like Roncesvalles as an example, then okay, it's 5 or 6 stories. If it's a big one like Eglinton, then it's 12 stories, but it will be between 5 and 12. I'm not talking about 40, 50, 60 stories. That is where people hate it. People don't, of course, people are living in the 50, 60 stories because there were no options in 6 or 7 story. But if we ask people, would you rather live in a 6 story or in a 50 story? By the way, we get the same amount of density, the same amount of units. If we have 6 stories next to each other, like Madrid that you mentioned, like Barcelona, than if we get 50 stories. Why is it that I don't like too much the 50 stories? One, we have too many of those in Toronto that are aging very poorly. Why don't we fix them? Because it's very expensive. Why don't we tear them down? Because it's very expensive. But if you have a 6-story and it's aging poorly, well, you fix it. Or you tear it down and do another 6-story. But so we could have the same density. We could have more than enough. We could open up enough spaces for together with 10% of the renovations, with densifying the transportation corridors, and with the public lands for about 1.9 million units. We only need 10% of those from here to 2030. Only 10%. Since that is private sector, we cannot force him to do the building. But if we allow as a right to do 1.9 million, all we need is 10%, and that's all we need of housing for the next 10 years. And we would need another 10% until 2050. So it's totally doable. We don't need one single meter urbanized in the Greenbelt, not one. We could, Toronto and all of the cities around the GTHA could do more than enough housing in the existing footprint. But we need to do all those things.
But Gil, how do we pay it? Because lots of people is saying that if, the budget is an issue. Next month, next Wednesday, we have it. If the budget was going to raise with what Tory had already proposed, with what you're proposing, we need to raise taxes.
Well, everything that I'm proposing, we can do it with the money that Tory wants. That would be enough. We don't need more than that. It's not money. It's political issues. People keep saying, oh, Gil, but it's so complicated. How are you going to do it? What I was telling about the streetcars, having light priority. All you need is a $50 chip, and then it changes the light so that when the streetcar approaches, it gives you green and not red. It's not about money. Opening the water fountains in the parks, if you do it on July or you do it on April, the cost is the same. It's about having efficiency. Allowing people to subdivide their homes. Who's going to pay? They are going to pay. But we can also help them. How? The federal government is putting billions into housing, but it's very expensive and takes a long time. So we tell the federal government, part of the same money that you are putting into new buildings that will be ready in 10 years from now, let's have part of that to the renovation that I call the renovation revolution. So if any of these houses, if people say, oh, I want to divide my house into 4 and I'm going to pay, that's fine. Then you do it. We also let you do it as of right, and you put whatever price in the rent. But if the person says, I want to renovate my house, but I don't have the money, I say, oh, we can lend you the money because the federal government has the billions. The money is there. So instead of doing 50-story buildings, we're going to do renovations. If you get that, then of the 3 additional units, of the 4 units, you live in 1 and you rent 3. Well, one of the 3 is going to have to be at half of the market rate than the others. So that is a way. So it's not money. The money is there. I'm not proposing anything where the money is not there. Nothing. Everything that I'm saying is completely doable. We need to have safe streets in the suburbs, in the downtown, everywhere. And people, when I was in the last campaign, the editorial board of some papers were saying, oh, Gil, how are you going to do it? I said, hey, guys, all of you live in Rosedale or the Annex or Hyde Park. The speed limit there is already 30. How do they enforce it? Oh, very simple. They put humps, one or two humps in every block, and they put speed cameras. I said, okay, how would we do it in Rexdale, in Thorncliffe? Same thing, we would put humps and speed cameras. Is it only the wealthy people that want to have safe streets, or everybody wants to have safe streets? It's not about the money. We need to explain to the citizens these issues, because most of the issues in Toronto are not technical and are not financial, are political. I mean, we need to understand that, for example, John Tory is getting the city to tear down the Gardiner and rebuild it 100 meters. That is costing almost $2 billion. That is around $2,000 per every household in Toronto. Per every household in Toronto. I mean, it's $600 for every man, woman, and child in Toronto. It's crazy. It's crazy. Why? Because he wants to save 3 minutes to 2% of the commuters. So everybody here is going to pay $2,000. This kid is going to pay $600. His mom $600. You $600. I'm going to pay $600. That's 45% of the budget. Can you imagine that the 10-year transportation budget in Toronto, 10 years from 2020 to 2030, 44% is for the Gardiner? That's 13 times more than for Vision Zero to have safe streets. So I'm going to say, well, we don't do the elevated Gardiner, and that will give us back at least $1 billion. We are going to open up space to do at least 8,000 homes. And we're going to have, and even more important, we're going to connect the city with the waterfront instead of having a gigantic barrier. And we do a boulevard with sidewalks and benches and trees and bikeways. So where is the money? There is the money, over $1 billion. I mean, we need to get government to be accountable. I mean, last year, city said nothing, but there was this train, LRT on Eglinton, that was designed and all on Eglinton West to be above ground. One day, Mr. Ford wakes up and says, oh, what if we put it underground? It's going to cost only $2.4 billion. $2.4 billion more. Same train, same speed, fewer stations, $2.4 billion. And then even some councillors ask Mayor Tory, please tell Ford not to do that. Some people say, what would you have done? I said, I would have made that a political issue. I would have gone to Eglinton with a gigantic mock-up of a train with the $2.4 billion, with all of the zeros, so that citizens would understand what $2.4 billion is, and say, Premier Ford, thank you for investing in public transit. But don't bury it here. First, because it's really bad for climate change and for the environment. Let's do more kilometers of LRT in Etobicoke. Let's do more kilometers in Scarborough. Let's use those $2.4 billion, but it's not for the same train, same speed, and fewer stations. So, I mean, there is tons of money. The money is there. I mean, we were going to do a 21-stop light rail in Scarborough. Scarborough was going to have the best public transit in all of Canada. And they changed politically, the Tory and Ford, for a one-stop subway that then ended up being a 3-stop subway. So now 13% of the citizens of Scarborough are going to have public transit, 87% are not. Before University of Toronto stayed mute, Centennial College stayed mute, when there were going to be stations in the middle of the campus. So so a lot of these things is we need to be more transparent. We need to stop being politically correct. We need to be honest with the citizens. So let's not accept that these issues are technical or financial. They are political. We can have a substantially better city without that.
Absolutely. I don't know if you have anything else. We know you have another interview, well, you see, I look at and we talk about it at the beginning, and I'm not. I think this and this, and now I don't have to play the camera. Toronto is dirty, Gil, and I don't know. You have said it's not a problem of money. how do we clean Toronto? One thing at a time, or how would you clean Toronto?
Well, first we need to realize that cleaning Toronto is very, very important. Not only because it looks nice, but because it also becomes safer. There are many, many, many studies that show that when the places are clean, people behave differently than when the places are run down. So cleaning also has to do with safety. It's not just about looking nice. So that is very important. And also we gotta enforce. We have the money. For example, we have a company that has a contract. In the same contract, they have the bus stops of the city, and they have the garbage. You go to the garbage, almost one out of two, if not more, of the garbage cans in Toronto are overfull. Their doors are broken. They are deteriorating. Why? Why? If we have that company it's been there for over 10 years. Why is it that we have not found them? Why is it that we have not ended the contract with them? By the way, the same company does the shelters of the buses where they put advertisement. That's where they get the money, put in advertisement. Where they get money is perfect. It's perfect. You see all the time people cleaning the windows where they put the posters of advertisement because that's where they make money. So the same company that has those shelters and have them in very good condition because they're making money from those are not caring about the garbage cans. So we need to, if we outsource that service and they're not doing a good job, well, we need to look after the legal issues and end it.
And last but not least, Tory is out of job now. He's going out of job. Has he told you? Has he talked with you before resigning? Did any of your team, or did because well, first of all, I was starting to feel like sorry, Tory. You said on your campaign, sorry about it, but what he's done is terrible. And you said, if I'm not wrong, in Twitter, that what happens with his staff? Nobody knew.
Well, I think that first I invited Torontonians to look at the future. That's past.
Okay.
I know that it was only 72 hours ago, but we have so many issues. Let's focus on the present and on the future. I think we have a lot of possibilities. I think the city was moving in the wrong direction. I think that with Tory and the budget and the people that he appointed, the people that he had on his executive committee, the people that he had representing the city in some of the boards, I think there has to be a lot of changes on that. Mm-hmm. So I think that has to be. And you know, even with Tory, I never understood. In the past campaign, I had one tweet that I said, I don't understand why John Tory is running for mayor. I've read everything that he says, that he talks, and I've spoken with him. He's not passionate about anything. No.
He wanted to do politics boring.
Yeah, he doesn't love the libraries. He doesn't love the streets. He doesn't love public transit. He's not passionate about parks. He's not passionate about housing. So I said, man, this guy is 68. He's multimillionaire. He has a gigantic mansion in Florida in a gated community. He has a gigantic cottage in the north. He's already been mayor for 8 years. Why does he want to be mayor instead of enjoying life with his wife and children? He has grandchildren. So I really don't know. But I do think that the city can move from this. People were very concerned Friday night. Well, Saturday morning, the sun came out. It's a new day. Let's focus on the present and the future. We have many, many, many good things in the city. I mean, half of us were born in another country. We are multicultural. 17% of the area are ravines and green spaces. Of course, we have big issues of poverty. We have issues of equity. We have issues of sustainability. But I do think we can build a Toronto for everyone. I came with the slogan of Toronto for everyone because when I asked Torontonians, what do you think about Toronto? And I asked the young people, and they say, oh, it's good but for the old. I asked the old, and they say, oh, it's good but for the young. I asked for the downtown, they say, oh, it's good for the suburbs. And they say, oh, it's good for the down. Everybody thinks Toronto is good but for someone else. No, we need to make Toronto good for everyone, and I think this is doable.
That's it. You're not going to hire Tory then for your team, but you're for as you said, I think we'll have lots of debates next campaign.
Well, I will be very different. For example, on his executive committee is only right-wing people. No, I will put everybody. For example, he only appoints people from the extreme right. I think that I will have 3 deputy mayors, and they will be from 3 very different backgrounds, politically, in every way. For example, I think that Councillor McKelvey, I think she's good. I think she knows more about environmental issues than any other councillor. So I wouldn't mind having her on the executive committee. I think that
She has a real background.
Oh,
she has
she's
a PhD
yeah,
in geology.
exactly. She's excellent.
Yeah.
So I do think that there is people in all areas that are good. I'm not going to be appointing anybody for political ideas. No, only whoever is good. Whoever is good, they are going to be working with me, regardless if it's left or right or whatever. That diversity is going to make us much better. I think that having only people, and that's what has happened since amalgamation. The mayors have been working only with the people that are closest to them without really listening to others. And that has not brought us to a very good place.
Sure.
So the last question I want to ask, I had a friend who told me that the most important question in any interview is a question you didn't ask. So what is that question and what is your answer?
Well, you asked so many questions.
This one, no wrong answer.
No, maybe why do I want to be mayor? I want to be mayor because I think I have the knowledge and the experience. I have been hired by cities in over 350 cities, but I love Toronto. I'm passionate about this city, and I do think that we can be much better. I think I can lead a team of people into creating an affordable, an equitable, and a sustainable city. I do think that we can have a Toronto for everyone. So that's why, if tomorrow I see, even during the campaign, if I find someone that has similar ideas, but maybe I feel that they can do a better job as mayor, I'll support that person. But if I don't see anyone, if I see all these just party box people, then I'm going to run till the end. So that's why I do think that I would be a radically different mayor than what we have had in the past.
Sounds good.
I think that it would be nice for a change, not only to have an immigrant when in a city that more than half of us were born in another country, but it would be also nice for a change to have someone that spends the leisure time in the public parks and that likes to walk and bike and use public transit and that wants to have a city that is fun and exciting and that will promote the arts and the culture. And so I think I honestly think I could do a much better job than what has been done in the recent past.
Sure. We've seen you arriving on the bike to your office. So.
Exactly. I don't do it as a show or the bike to work day once a year. No, I do it 365.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
for your time.